Firstly, I really appreciate all of you coming out and making time, because this is a very important topic, and it really requires, if you don't really, for you coming here shows that you have interest in seeking the truth. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you and I all the ability to see what is true and give us the ability to follow it. Because that is the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allahumma arina haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a. That, oh Allah, enable us to see the truth as it being truthful. Because sometimes the truth seems that it's wrong. Sometimes the truth can seem that it is wrong. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Hajj is all about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Him slaughtering his son. Slaughtering your son seems as it's wrong. But because he knew that it was from Allah, he knew it was true. So the ability to see the truth as it being truth is an honor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah grant that all to us. In regards to the moon sighting, this topic is a very burdensome topic, not only for the community, but mainly for the A'immah. The reason is, the poor Imams all over the world, they get bombarded with questions. Oh Imam, why are you doing this? Oh Imam, why are you doing that? Oh Imam, can you explain this? Oh Imam, can you explain that? But the reality is, no one really knows what the matter of it is, what we are discussing. So it's important to be very educated. Everyone makes a claim, and this is a claim that we all try to follow, is unity. We all want unity. But the question is, what do we unite on? The question is, what do we unite on? There are 5 different methods that are adopted in sighting the moon. There are 5 different methods. People only thought there was one. There are 5 different methods. And we will go through each one of them, and I will tell you which one is from the Quran and Sunnah and which of these aren't. And I will bring the evidence in front of you so you are aware, and so that you know I'm not being biased towards any of these, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Firstly, we all need to understand that the Islamic calendar goes by the moon. The sighting of the moon is what determines whether the Islamic month has started or not. So that's one basic point that we all need to understand. So going on, there are 5 different methods that are used in regards to establishing the beginning of a month or the end of a month. The first one is astronomical calculations. Astronomical calculations, and I will explain each one in a little detail, inshallah. The second one is that global sighting, which is anywhere in the world, if the moon is sighted, everyone will accept that. If it's sighted in Pakistan, we will accept it. If it's sighted in Egypt, we will accept it. Anywhere it is sighted, we will accept it, and we will say that our month has started. I'm going to just give an example of Ramadan. Okay, I'm going to keep Ramadan as our focal point, as that is what we are discussing. So if the moon is started, then we will start the month of Ramadan. Okay. The third method is following Saudi Arabia. Okay, following Saudi Arabia, mashallah, it has the 2 haramain, so people want to start Saudi Arabia, follow Saudi Arabia. So that's the third method people use. The fourth method is that throughout the whole year, 11 months of the year, we are just going to do local moon sighting. We are going to look for the moon. If we find it, we're going to start our month. If we don't, we're not going to. But in the month of Dhul Hijjah, which is the month we are in now, because it's the month of Hajj and we want to be in the same days as the people gone for Hajj, we want to follow Saudi Arabia for only the month of Dhul Hijjah. The last one is going locally, which means if it is sighted in our locality, we will start the month of Ramadan. If it is not sighted in our locality, we will not follow the month of Ramadan. Whether it be sighted somewhere else in the world or not, that is irrelevant. What we determine is our locality, determined by the scholars. We will follow that, and we will not follow anything else. All of these, majority of them have proofs as reasons as to why they are following it, and we will go into detail for each one of them. So, as a basic point, the hadith that is used, there's one hadith and it's used for everyone. Everyone uses one hadith. Okay, and it's different ways of looking at it, and what is right and what is apparent to the eyes. That is what we have to establish. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is "Sumu li ru'yatihi," that begin your fasting by the sighting of the moon. By the sighting of the moon, begin your fasting. And this was specific. It's not specific to Ramadan. It's for any month. This is how you determine the beginning of any month. So he said, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Sumu li ru'yatihi," begin your fast by the sighting of the moon. وَأَفْطِرُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ, and break your fast, meaning stop the month of Ramadan by the sighting of the moon. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if it's a cloudy weather on the 29th night, if it's cloudy, فَأْكْمِلُوا عِدَّةَ ثَلَاثِينَ, then complete 30 days. On the 29th night, when people go and search for the moon, if it's cloudy, you can't see anything, then you just go ahead and complete 30 days. Okay? Now going on to the first one that we talked about, astronomical calculations. I'm going to mention what they say as well as why it's not very practical and why we cannot accept it. The first astronomical calculations, what is it? Astronomical calculations is pretty much using complete science that they predict and they calculate when the new moon will be born. When the new moon will be born, that is when what we are going to use as determining when the next month will begin. The benefits of this are pretty good. Number one, you can make a calendar for the next 10 years. And you can take days off in advance from work, from jobs, from schools. You can take days off. Number one. Number two reason they say is because you use calculations anyways for Salah. Fajr, you've calculated for the whole year. Zuhr, you've calculated it's going to begin at this time and it's going to end at this time. Asr, you've done the same. Maghrib, you've done the same. Isha, you've done the same. So we're using calculations already, so why can't we apply the same logic here and use calculations in determining when the beginning and the end of the month starts? If you look at it, it's very strong points. They do got a point. Now let's see why we can't use it. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, Sumu li ru'yatihi, that begin your fast by the sighting of the crescent. So it has two words I want you to look at. Li ru'ya. Ru'ya means to see. When you're pre-calculating, are you seeing anything? No, number one. Number two, they say that you can pinpoint exactly when the new moon can be born. And that is correct. Scientifically, you can get to the millisecond as to exactly when the new moon will happen. What is the new moon? Let's go over that real quick. The new moon is when the moon is in the middle, the earth is on this side, the sun is on this side. The moon is in the middle, in between the sun and the earth. One side of the moon will be completely illuminated because the sun is reflecting exactly upon it. The opposite side that's facing the earth will be invisible. In science, they call it, the sophisticated term is the astronomical new moon. It's impossible to see this. With the greatest of telescopes, you cannot see it. You can't see it. It's the invisible moon. So that is when they're talking, when the moon is completely like that, it's completely invisible, they are saying that is when you can calculate and you can say pinpoint to the minute, to the second, exactly when it will happen. But the Prophet ﷺ says, لا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال, that don't begin your fast until you see the crescent. Until you see the crescent, not the new moon. Not the new moon. The new moon in Arabic is Shams Qamar Jadid, the new moon. But the crescent is not the new moon. The crescent comes after the new moon. The moment the angle of the sun changes even a little bit, then you see the crescent. That is the beginning of the new moon or the beginning of the next month. So the Prophet ﷺ, and even in Quran Allah says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ. He tells the Prophet ﷺ that they ask you about the hilal. What is the hilal? The Prophet ﷺ says, قُلْ هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ وَالْحَجِّ. This is a pinpoint time for the people as well as to tell you the time for Hajj. So it's not the new moon we're looking at, it's the hilal. Now you're going to ask, why can't we calculate exactly when the hilal will take place? We've gone to the moon and come back, but it's impossible to exactly pinpoint when the hilal will be apparent and visible. It is impossible to exactly pinpoint when this hilal, this crescent, when it will become visible. Up till today, no science can prove exactly when the hilal will become visible. And it shows the great and the deepness of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that until you can't see the hilal, they could have calculated the new moon, that's done. But the hilal, which actually matters, you cannot calculate it. It can't be pre-calculated. You actually need to make an effort to actually go and see the hilal. Therefore, we cannot use the pre-calculated method because you cannot pinpoint exactly when. It happens, generally, it takes about 20 hours average. After the new moon takes place, it generally takes 20 hours for it to become visible, meaning we can possibly see it after 20 hours. 15 hours after the new moon, it's rare. It's possible, but it is rare. Nowadays, after 2 hours of the new moon, we have people claiming they've seen the moon. After 2 hours, they say the new moon is, they saw it. Although it's not possible until minimum 15 hours, and even that is a very rare occasion. It usually takes at least 20 hours for the crescent to become visible. And these are facts, by the way. This is not my opinion. I was discussing with someone the other day and said after I told him a fact, he gave me an opinion. I said, it doesn't work like that. I just gave you a fact. You have to bring me another fact in regards to if you want to take my fact away. So you have to bring fact. And this is a fact. This is scientifically proven. So in regards to the pre-calculated method, we cannot use it for this reason. Now the second question comes. That we use calculations for salah. Why can't we calculate for the moon? Firstly, I just explained to you why it's not possible to calculate the sighting of the hilal. It's not possible. Secondly, when it comes for salah, salah time is determined not by the moon, but it is determined by the sunrise and sunset. Sunrise and sunset determines when the salah time enters. Fajr salah enters when the sun is at this location. Maghrib enters when the sun is at this location. And that is pinpointed and exactly calculated. The sun can be exactly calculated, but the hilal cannot be exactly calculated, and that is why to use a pre-calculation method to determine the beginning of any month is not correct, and it's not from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So that was the first one. The second one is global sighting. What is global sighting? Is pretty much anywhere in the world, if the moon is sighted, for everyone else, now it becomes compulsory that they fast the next day. The month of Ramadan has started for them, or the next month has started for them. What hadith they use? The same one. Fast when you see the hilal, on the sighting of the hilal, and break your fast, meaning break the month of Ramadan, stop the month of Ramadan when you see the hilal. Now, how did they come to this conclusion? They said there's no condition for any location in this hadith. It's anywhere. It's general. Wherever you see the moon, you start your fast. And wherever you see the moon again to stop the month or start the next month, you go ahead and do that. So there's no location that if you're only in America, it can only apply to Americans. If you're only in Saudi, it can only apply to them. If you're only in Pakistan, it can only apply to them. There's no condition like that. So that is why they say anywhere in the world, if it is cited, it can be accepted and everyone else has to follow it. Again, this is proven through hadith. And this is one of the two correct opinions that it is okay for a person to follow global sighting. The problem comes, it's not very practical, and I'll explain. If we're ready for the effort, it's completely fine and we can do practice on it, and I'll explain to you. For example, if we go globally, what happens? Let's say right now we see we're starting the month of Ramadan and we didn't see the moon right now. We wait all the way until the sun or the moon sunset is happening all the way in the west coast. What time is it going to be when the sun sets over there? For us, it's probably going to be 12, 11. Do you really want to go through the effort of staying awake the whole night and possibly not even being the month of Ramadan? So it doesn't make it very practical in order for us to apply it. If we're ready for it, we're completely fine by the opinion of the scholars. We can definitely practice upon this and it will be completely fine. But the practicality aspect of it will become very difficult for us in order to practice upon this opinion. That is why we go on a different opinion. So that is for this one. This one is global sighting. The third method is following a specific country. For example, I'm from Pakistan. So when the month of Ramadan is about to start, I call Pakistan and I say, have you guys started your month of Ramadan? They say, no, we have not started. So I say, okay, I'm going to follow you guys. You guys have not started, I'm not going to start at all. You guys are from, some of you are from Bangladesh. You call back Bangladesh. Say, did you guys see the moon or did you guys start the month of Ramadan? Some of you say yes. So what is going to happen? You're going to start the month of Ramadan. You're following your country. We have the Indian brothers. You're going to call back home. You're going to say, oh yes, we did not sight the moon. or Ramadan did not start for us, so they're not going to. What happens when it's a very diverse community? Half the people are going to be fasting on one day, the other people are going to be like, no, we're following our country. Exactly. And is this proven through any hadith? No. There's no basis for this. There is absolutely no basis for following a specific country. There is no basis for it, therefore it's clear as to why this is not permissible and why this is not even an option. You can't follow a specific country. To follow anything, you need Quran or hadith. Without that, we cannot make up our own third or fourth or fifth or sixth method in how we want to start or finish the month. So that is the third one. The fourth one, and there's a fifth one, and the fifth one is going to take a little while, just not too much, inshallah. The fourth opinion is local sighting. What is local sighting? You're looking at the moon by yourself in your locality. What's locality? That will be determined by the scholars. They will get together and they will determine what do we consider under one locality. So after they said, the point is, you're going to look for the moon. You don't care about who else saw it in the world. You don't care about who else saw it in the world. You are looking for it yourself. And if you see it, you will fast. If you don't see it, you will not fast. This is also proven to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I will give you an example. Hadith Qurayb radiyallahu ta'ala an. He was the slave of Fadl radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So on one occasion, she sent him to Sham, where Muawiyah was. Muawiyah was in Sham, Syria. So he was sent there. After he did his business, he came back. When he came back, Hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas was in Medina. So he asks Qurayb that, when did you guys start the month of Ramadan? He said that I sighted the moon. So on Friday we sighted the moon, so we started the month of Ramadan on Friday. So Hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas says, okay, did you see it or someone else saw it as well? He said, I saw it and the people saw it and they also started fasting on Friday. He said, okay, we did not sight the moon on Friday. We sighted it on Saturday. So we are going to complete our 30 days unless on the 29th we see the moon. Unless on the 29th we see the moon. So which means Syria and Hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas in Medina were doing it on different days. And Hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas says, after he mentions this, he says, هَكَذَا أَمَرَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ, that this is how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered us to do it. So it shows it's completely fine if they've done it the appropriate way, that they have Eid one day and we have Eid the other day. It's completely fine. In one locality they will have Eid one day, the other locality they will have Eid the other day. It was completely fine, and this was done in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no objection there. The last one is where a lot of issues come, where who cares what you're doing the 11 months, but when it comes to the month of Dhul Hijjah, when it comes to the month when people are going to perform Hajj, it becomes problematic, and people want to follow Saudiya for this because they want the day of Arafat to coincide with Yawmul Arafah. The day of Arafat, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, when the Hujjaj go to the plain of Arafat, they want it to coincide with Yawmul Arafah. Okay, everyone clear? That's clear? It's simple. It is simple. The day of Arafah is not specific to a place. Yawm Arafah is not specific to the plain of Arafat. What do I mean? Do we get the benefit of Yawm Arafah? Or is it only the people of Arafat, the people who went for Hajj?
We do.
We all get it. Does that mean we have to be in Arafat? No. Everyone gets the benefit of Yawm Arafah. The problem that happens, the confusion that happens is people say that Yawm Arafah is Arafat, that it has to come on the same day. Which is absolutely incorrect, because Yawm Arafah, another example would be Yawm Jumu'ah, the day of Jumu'ah. Do we say it's specific to a place? We don't say it's specific. Yawm Jumu'ah is just the name of it. Yawm Arafah is just the name of it. It's not specific to a place. I'll explain this in more detail. And this example is a little off, but inshallah it gets the job done. Let's say at the time of Hajj, there was a place by the name Jumu'ah. Okay? There was a place by the name of Jumu'ah. When you go for Hajj, there's a place for Jumu'ah. It's hypothetical, so don't go look for Jumu'ah when you go for Hajj. Okay? If there was a place by the name Jumu'ah in Hajj. So we say, you know what? People gather there at Jumu'ah. So Wednesday is going to be the day people are going to gather at Jumu'ah. So let's make sure our Saturday comes after the time when people gather at Jumu'ah. Does that make any sense? The day people gather at Jumu'ah, let's make sure our Saturday is after that. It's the same as saying, let's do Eid the day after people gather at a place by the name Arafat. There is no connection between the two. I'll give you, now this was from the, kind of got to think about it. Let me give you a more clear example from the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ and from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. When did Eid become a thing in Islam? In the first or second Hijri? In the first or second Hijri is when Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr came about. In the first or second Hijri. When did Hajj come about? The concept of Arafat is Hajj. When did it come? The Prophet ﷺ performed his Hajj in the 10th or 9th year of Hijri. Did he ever say, oh, when are the people going for Arafat so we can do our Eid after that? Did the Prophet ﷺ ever try to make an effort that let's go and look, when are the people gathering at Arafat? Only then will we do our Eid after them. That concept was never there because it came after. It came after. It was never a condition that when the people go to Arafat, only after that we can do our Eid. There was never a concept of that nature. A third reason why it's not true, why Arafat is a condition and Yom Arafat and Arafat have to be on the same day. And this is something that Hafiz ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned in his tafsir. And my teacher alluded to this point, and it was something that really was mind-boggling. It was very interesting, and I've written it down just so we understand. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he performed Hajj the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm Arafah. Okay, Arafat, when he went to the plain of Arafat. It was the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, obviously, and it was a Friday. The 9th of Dhul Hijjah was a Friday. When the Prophet ﷺ, he passed away in Medina. Okay, Hajj was performed in Mecca. In Medina, he passed away on the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal. 3 months. 3 months after he performed Hajj, he passed away. On the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal, on a Monday. On a Monday. So Hajj was performed, the 9th of Arafah was a Friday, and the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal when he passed away was a Monday. Now you ask, how can it be? How is it that it's only a Monday? Because if you do the calculation, and I've written it here, you do the calculation and you say that if every month was 29 days, meaning Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, Safar, and Rabi' al-Awwal. If you're saying every month was 29 days, then it doesn't land on a Tuesday, it lands on a Thursday. And if you do every month was 30 days, then again it lands on a Sunday and not a, it's Monday. The Monday. So it lands on a Monday and not a Sunday. So the question comes, how is there a difference? The difference is because Mecca and Medina, the most sacred lands, were on different calendars. Even they did not worry or try to reconcile between Arafat and the Yawm Arafah being on the same day. It was completely different. And once you see this, that Mecca and Medina, the two most sacred lands, when they were not on the same page or they were not on the same calendar, then why do we need to be on the same calendar? There is absolutely no reason for this. And this is mentioned by Hafiz ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi. And he makes a very beautiful point, and it's there. So the question comes, now, why should we in any way? Now the other thing we need to understand is Hajj, or the sighting of the moon. It is, you can't just by someone saying they saw the moon, does not make it an accepted thing that we have to accept it right away. For example, a pious person, the most pious person you know, he comes to you one day and he tells you that I started flying. Will you believe it? Why won't you believe it? He's very pious. You know he's always said the truth. But one day he comes and he says he started flying. Will you believe it? You won't. Because it's against logic. It's impossible. Like, come on, are you serious? Okay? It's impossible. So the question comes that when someone says they saw the moon, and scientifically it was completely impossible for them to sight the moon, whether one person says it or 100 people say it, if it's impossible, you will not accept that witness. You will not accept that witness. You can't accept it in any court of law. In any court of law, if someone testifies against the possible, if they witness against the impossibility, then you will not accept their witness. You just can't, because it's not possible. So that is a point that we need to understand, all of us, that these are things, and this is something that countries, when they make a claim, especially Saudi, when it makes a claim of sighting the moon, for those that are gone for Hajj, that is their deal. They have to do it in their manner, which is completely fine. But for other people who have the capability of understanding and knowing the truth, knowing what is right, it doesn't make any sense for them to go and follow that. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the calendars were not the same. So what do we think? Who do you think we are? That we're some great person that's going to unite the whole ummah, the whole world. It's not going to happen, and that's not our job. Whatever we find as haqq, we follow haqq in all its aspects and all its manner. And that is something that hopefully, inshallah, through this, we got the understanding, and we got a better understanding of exactly what goes on and how it goes on, inshallah. If you have any questions, you can ask. But a lot of people get very emotional on this topic. And they ask questions as, why is so-and-so doing it on this day? I don't know, go ask him. Okay, so if you're asking a question now, if it's in the light of Quran and Hadith and you need explanation on the matter, I will be happy to explain it. But if it's a matter of why is someone doing it, he's from the same school, he's from the same school of thought, he's also a alim, he's also a mufti, why is he doing it? You go ask him, don't ask me. Okay, I don't know why they are doing it. I've given you all the things that you need to know over here, inshallah. And the thing with Saudiya, especially in this sighting, which is something that everyone should be aware of, and this is not just the first time they've done this, in the sense that, and people make claims, crazy claims, and I'll tell you what claim they made after I tell you this. The moon apparently was sighted in Saudi Arabia, okay, apparently. Although it was scientifically impossible, I'll tell you this too, it was scientifically impossible to sight the moon. The next time the moon was sighted by anyone, was on the 12th, which is, they sighted on the 11th, on the Saturday. They sighted it on Saturday. The next time it was possible for anyone to see it, and anyone who ever even made a claim, they made it for the next day, and it was Australia. The gap between the two is really big. And you need to also understand, if one city saw it, then it should be more visible for the next city. If one city saw it, that's how it goes. The longer the moon has been born, the more visible it becomes. So if one city saw it, then the city after should have definitely saw it. But no one else made a claim. No one else said they saw the moon. Saudi made a claim. No one followed until the next day Australia finally made a claim that now we saw the moon, and even that was on the 12th, which means the day we started. So these are things to keep in mind, and of course, people have their opinions, people are going to say things, but this is the reality of the matter, and this is something that we should, inshallah, always try to follow.